Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome to a new edition of the Sports Shop 27. I'm your host, Jermaine Coulter. And to my far right, got my co-host, Kevin Johnson, KJ. And in the middle, today's special guest, we got a former University of Albany. He played linebacker there in the 90s, I think between 91 and 93. First started off as a defensive end, wreaked havoc on the line and on defense. I went from there to the Arena League, played a little bit there, and now he's doing his own thing, man. He's about to get into a boxing match. He's getting revved up. He's working out, doing everything he can. He's working out with the greats. Today's special guest is no other than Mike Dempsey. What's going on, Mike?
Hey, guys. Good to see you. Good to be here tonight.
Oh, yeah, man.
Coming on the show, Mike. For the people that
could be in a boxing ring right now, but I'm taking the night off for you guys, so it's all good. I gotta look pretty tonight. I can't get my face busted up. So
there you go.
That's it. Yes, sir. Got to get paid. So for the people that don't know you, Mike, let them know where you're from and a little bit about your background.
If you haven't figured out the accent, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. You know, I've been down south here for 15, 16 years in Raleigh, North Carolina, but from Brooklyn, from Flatbush, played football at Midwood High School. And I'll tell you what, man, we're talking about football. I know we're going to talk a lot about football on this show, but all my guys from football, we have reunions every year, probably 3-4 times a year. We do it in New York. We do it in Vegas, Miami. Man, my guys, we just stay connected because that bond, that brotherhood we had playing city championship years ago in the mid-'80s, it doesn't get old, man. We relive and embellish our old statistics and make ourselves feel better about ourselves, relive the Al Bundy 4 touchdowns and all that stuff, but it's great, man, reminiscing. And tell you what, high school, like, it's funny because we've stayed closer. My guys in college all went different directions. You know, we have a few of us on Facebook that stay in touch, but honestly, high school is those guys, that brotherhood has never died. So it's just a weird thing. I know some people have more bonds with their college football guys, but for me, high school guys from 35 years ago, it's just, it's amazing, man. So.
Yeah, man.
Great.
Good. It's good. Oh, hey, what age you start playing sports and what?
You know, it's funny. Really, I always play. My love growing up was baseball, right? So that's how I'm going to get into that part with the Yankees after football ended. But I was probably much more better baseball player. But high school football was the thing, and you couldn't play both. So I pretty much played football all the way through high school. But when I got to Albany, I played both. Played college, but I had a bum shoulder when labor. You know, I had at that point a third baseman with a bad arm. So football was really where I spent most of my time. But my true love and probably my most natural talent was always more baseball. And I got to live the dream many, many years later through the Yankees, doing community work with them and playing in an Old Timers Day game to honor Brian Doyle, a former Yankee legend. Suffering from Parkinson's, got a hit off Jeff Nelson in the game. That's a whole nother story for another show, but I got to live my dream playing baseball as well. So I'm blessed to have done multiple sports, and now I'm trying to get back in the boxing ring. My first time boxing when football ended didn't go very well. I was 1-3 as an amateur. Got disqualified in my last fight for spitting out my mouthpiece because I was gassed. I had no energy in that second round. So referee, it was a bad ending, but I got a chance to redeem myself for charity and raise money for underprivileged kids in New Jersey with Jerry Cooney for his fight night. And I've been training 2 years for that. So we could always rewrite our kind of storylines, which is what sports is all about, right? Football. One thing about football for you guys, I know we're all 3 former football players. You know, it's like when football ends, you don't get another chance at it. You know, they don't have old man leagues for football. That's tough. So all we can do is reminisce and drink beer and tell those stories. But through the alumni, the NFL alumni membership and being part of the community, I've been able to at least help others through charity. That's been the way I've been giving back in football and helping others in specific needs. We'll talk about CTE later, some of the things that a lot of the alumni are suffering with, but for baseball, got a chance to play, man, be a Yankee legend in my own mind. You know, it was pretty cool boxing. And for 3 rounds, for 6 minutes, I get to be a boxer and have Irish Mickey Ward, the legend, in my corner and get to do something for a charity with Jerry Cooney as a referee, who's going to be my opponent, but he chickened out. He actually tore his rotator cuff, and the real story is he's got to referee it. But I don't think Jerry and me would have been good in the ring. Jerry's 6'6" and 260 pounds, even at 65 years old. So I think I'm better off with a lesser opponent, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And that's what it's all about, is kind of living the dream. And that's what sports is all about. You guys asked me my upbringing, and, I had a lot of, I didn't have that storyline of somebody who just shot to fame, had the best talent. I took a lot of bumps along the way, even in high school. To get recruited, I used to sit there with a typewriter back in the mid 80s, and I used to type letters myself to all the college coaches. And you know what? A lot of them, like Terry Donahue, UCLA head coach, he passed last year, wrote me back. That's how I got noticed. I used to write letters. I mean, typewriters, and back in those days, we didn't have computers, and I did this stuff all on my own. And I got a lot of attention just from me being my own agent, and it was really cool. So I was able to get out on and do that, and went to Boston University as a walk-on. I got cut. I got hurt in camp. I thought walk-on meant you made the team. Walk-on, I made the team. No, I got hurt. It means no scholarship. A lot of money for a poor kid from Brooklyn. My parents didn't want to pay for 4 years, $22,000 a year. So I had to go home for a semester, back to New York City, Baruch College, no football. I played baseball, but it was tough. And but you know what? I went to Albany, got a chance. Be up there, and same thing happened. I graduated late in the summer of '93 because I didn't have all my credits transferred from the other two schools. And Firebirds was an arena football franchise in Albany, pretty new, third season, I think, at that point. I never even heard of arena football, never watched a game. They were practicing at our university. And a couple of guys that went down midway through the season. They needed a body. Well, I was a body, right? So I got to live at least 3 weeks being a professional football player. Never thought that'd be in the cards for me. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I graduated. So what happens? Indoor, playing non-contact. This deal, you guys. I'm sure you've had injuries. ACL pop, meniscus full tear. It was the ugliest injury you could ever imagine. Non-contact, but cut the wrong way and snap, crackle, pop. And that was like the beginning of the end, where you try to rehabilitate. I had that cadaver graft, which was a short fix to get back in the field quicker, but I should have probably done the other surgery, which would have been longer but more stable. And by the time I bounced around, and even through my networks, me, I'm hustling on the phones, and I got a chance. Jerry Angelo was director of player personnel at the Buccaneers, gives a guy like me a shot. Camp, come in there and failed the physical first time, and I got another shot to stay around for another week, and got cut. Basically, got a settlement, injury settlement, and it was one of the worst, demoralizing things. I didn't know what I was going to do after that. That's where now I'm in Tampa. Kid from Brooklyn, barely knew how to drive. I didn't have a car in Brooklyn. Now I'm in Florida, don't know how to drive pretty much. And so I used to take subways. That's what we did in New York City. I couldn't afford a car. So It was a very adventurous start. I'm engaged, and now I have no job, no income coming in. Get hooked up with the Yankees, doing pretty much community work for free, which means pro bono. You don't get but I got to live the dream doing that stuff. But I got a real job on Wall Street with Salomon Brothers and got involved in banking. And then 5 years later, relocate. I'm back up in New York. What happens? 9/11. I'm in the World Trade Center. What crazy fate I have. And I don't know if I shared that story with you guys, but I was in the World Trade Center, survivor 9/11, and got involved, injured on that day. Thankfully survived, hospitalized. And started a charity with a friend of mine who lost his brother a couple of weeks later. And we're still around, 20 plus years later. But I got involved in philanthropy. And I was like, wow, this is cool, giving back and helping others. And as the years went by, I started getting more involved in sports philanthropy, through connections I made. And I stayed in contact with all those guys, even the Buccaneers. Mike Alstott's still a good buddy of mine, Buccaneers. And all the friends I made over the years, stayed in contact and started helping out charities and immersed myself in that. And that's what I'm known for. No one knows the banking side of my lifestyle. Everything I do for a living where I make money, you wouldn't know. It's on my LinkedIn profile. Other than that, everybody knows me for what you see on my social media profiles and all the charity and all that stuff. And Halle Berry, I think we saw a picture of. She got the hots for me. I'm kidding. I wish not, but that's the stuff that I love doing, man. I have a passion for it, and I think I took a lot of bumps. And I think if you had to say what would exemplify Mike Dempsey in one word, resiliency. That's what boxing's all about, man. I'm not a great boxer. I'm trying, man, but it's hard at 50 years old to get in the ring and do the things and move and learn all this stuff. But I'm out there 4 or 5 days a week doing it. And I'll tell you what, I bring my A game June 17th this year. And I've been training for 2 years, and I give everything you can to I'm not going to disgrace the sport. Gave everything to football, gave everything to baseball when I played, and now boxing. That's what life's all about, man. Leaving it all out on the field.
There you go. So back it up a little bit, going into the development stages. At what age did you know that sports was going to be your path and your passion, so to speak?
Oh, I lived it, like I'll tell you what, when they had books like in school, like I read everything was sports book, like Roger Staubach was my first book, Time Enough to Win when I was a kid. I just love sports biographies. So I kind of knew my life was going to be around sports. And I was kind of like bummed at some point when I thought maybe that's not what I was going to be doing. So when I kind of found it through the charity stuff and got back involved in it again, it really reignited something that was dead, So I loved sports. Coaching, I don't know if I would have been a great coach, because sometimes when you play the game is hard at a standard, a level, you give your all. I don't know if I would have had the patience for guys who don't play up to the standards of, I'm all about work ethic, playing your best, giving your best in the field and all that stuff. And I don't know if I could have handled, especially you see guys these days, the way they just don't give it all, and that's, so I don't know if I would have been a great coach or not and stayed in the game. I have a lot of friends who have done very well post sports, playing days doing coaching. So Torrey Holt the other night, I was teasing him because Torrey was coaching his son at Heritage High School here in Raleigh. I said, how was it? He was like, oh, man, sometimes, he had his son playing and he did it, but he had a vested interest in it. But it's not an easy thing, coaching. And you expect people to play up to the same standards that you did. So, but I knew, to answer your question again, I knew from an early age that sports was my passion, and it's not a job if you love it as much as, and to me, so I wanted to always be around it, whether I got paid or not paid. And I don't get paid for the stuff I do. I mean, look in these photos, like I don't get paid for charity work. I don't want to get paid. To me, that's not what philanthropy is all about. It's about giving back. So I'm happy doing things, helping out charities and helping out. Cage, I met you with Bone Crusher Smith at his wedding a few months ago, and I'm always there to help him, help James. I'm here to give to him and help what he's doing, his Champion for Kids charity. I don't want anything back. I don't need that. I'm here to give back at this stage of my life and help others.
Yeah. And I know you said baseball was your first love. What position you started out with?
Third base, man. I love third base until my shoulder. I didn't have a gun, so when you get older, they want to move you to first base or the outfield. And then as you get to your 40s, you're playing this in these leagues. And I played competitive ball with the Yankees. We had a lot of tournaments. I played all around the country, Field of Dreams, all these amazing places where the Astros have their spring training down in Palm Beach. But I'll tell you what, my eyes, I can't pick up the fly balls anymore on the outfield like I used to. You start slowing down, and I kind of realized last year, 2 years ago, that it was time to call it quits because I couldn't give my best on the field. So I was wore number 49 for a guy named Ron Guidry. He was a New York Yankee pitcher. Growing up, he was my hero. Got to play with him in a couple of camps, and I got to be very close to him. I wore his number. And I said, it'd be a cool thing if I could play baseball all the way up to my last day at 49 years old. So this past year, we had the Field of Dreams game, the Yankees and the White Sox.
That was a great game.
Go up there, and I had to bring my dad. And I said, you know what? And I had planned it. I didn't have a script on how I was going to do it. I wasn't there just for the game. I was there to have that catch with my dad, like in the movie with Kevin Costner. And that's what I wanted to do. I want to have that last moment on the field. And you know what? It was a crazy thing. I didn't know how I was going to get in there. I used all my Yankee connections. I go to Iowa, and they're like, who? And we're into Dwyer Brown. He played the dad, Kevin Costner's dad in the movie. I met Dwyer a few times, and I walked in with Dwyer, and my dad and I had the experience of a lifetime the day before, but even the day after the game, we went back, and I wanted to have one more catch just because I didn't like the footage. It was not the best. I wanted to have that storybook movie moment because I know, Jermaine, you've been big into film. I want to have that really storybook ending. And we went to go back the next day on the field, not where the Yankees and White Sox played, but at the movie site. And we got to have that catch. A security guard there filmed it. And then the most magical thing happened as we're doing that. They started playing the game. These construction workers that were taking down the field from across the street from where they were having the game, and started a game occurred. A little game, like just started like I go out to center field. I'm shagging some fly balls, and then I said, "Hey, can I have one more at bat?" And I did, and I got to hit one on my 7th pitch. I got it on video. I have it on my page, themikedempsey.com website, and I got my home run. My last hit or pitch was a home run in the cornfields. And I said, why would I ever want to play baseball ever again or have a catch? I don't want to have a catch with anybody now. It's my last catch was with my dad. So perfect ending. Sometimes you can't write those storybook endings. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but determination, I was going to do it. So the ring and boxing match, COVID has canceled us like 3 or 4 times. I will tell you, there's going to be an ending to that thing in the ring. I don't know, maybe boxing myself, but I'm going in the ring with somebody June 17th, and because I worked too hard, and I want to make sure we raise money for kids.
All right. So, so you say you started off, baseball was your first love. Yeah. Then you started playing football. What age did you started playing football, and what position did you play there?
9th grade, man. I was an offensive guard, defensive tackle, so I was always tall, you see, I think I sent you one of those pictures of me from back when I was playing.
Yep.
I probably didn't have the weight back then. I used to struggle to gain weight. Now it's the opposite. Now when you get older, you want to be thinner. It's the opposite, man. But I had struggled gaining weight, and it was very hard playing defensive tackle. And what happened to me in Boston University was a result of playing defensive tackle as a walk-on, and I was about 227 pounds when I got up there. And the coach, Chris Palmer, had me, like I said, it was the wrong position. I knew I should be getting a chance at a linebacker, but I didn't play linebacker in high school. So they put me at defensive tackle. And you had guys there back in the day. We know that I'm not going to talk about the juice, the steroids, but since the program's no longer around, I could probably say it, that there was a lot of guys doing steroids back then. And you got some big guys doing needles in the locker room. And I was intimidated. I knew from the time I got in there, mentally, I had no shot at making that team. So, but 5 days in, rolled over my ankle, and day later, cut. And I thought I was guaranteed a spot because I didn't understand how walk-on position occurs. You got to make the team, so they're entitled to cut you if you don't make the grade. So that was a bummer, but it was a lesson in life. I had to go home, and it was a very costly mistake. Had to work 4 summers in the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, taking tolls. I was a toll collector. So while the kids were enjoying their summers, my parents made me work off all that money I owed them for that tuition. So it was a lesson in life, and I don't regret that. It builds character.
Okay. So when you started playing football in high school, did you start right away, and did you guys make it to any playoffs, any state championship games?
We had a great squad. My best friend, Mark Ettrick, he actually ended up starting as a freshman at Kansas Jayhawks in 1989 with some great players. And we had a loaded squad. It was amazing. That's why I think it was amazing how all these guys came together, diverse bunch of guys. And we just had this incredible, we had one of the best quarterbacks in city high school history. One of the cool stories that's come out of that is one of our guys who play with us has now led Erasmus Hall High School, which couldn't even afford to play football in Brooklyn back in the day. They had no uniforms. Erasmus was in the worst part of Brooklyn. And Danny Landberg is one of our guys, and we always see him every year. He's led that program over the last 10 plus years and taken them to the city championship, like at Yankee Stadium, 9 years in a row. They've won 4 championships in a row right now. It's those kind of stories that city football wasn't very big. Down south here, football is like religion, but in New York City, it's different. You didn't have the same, but I tell you what, Brooklyn, we had a pretty strong program there during the mid 80s. And I can't tell you what it's like now. I haven't been up there to see, but back then it was a very special thing. I think more for the players than the fans. It's kind of like in Albany. I'll be honest. Albany, when we played there when I played there was Division III, and it was a frat school. And I had more people in high school that went to our games in college. So wearing that jacket around campus didn't get me any luck with the ladies. I'm kidding. But it wasn't as big a deal wearing a high school football jacket. It just was the way the school, it was more of a frat school, sororities and more of that type of environment. So we didn't get a lot of big crowds. Now they renovated. The New York Giants Came there in 95 to train there. They renovated the field. I'm jealous. I went back there last summer with my dad to check it out. I'm like, I wish I would have had this when I was, but it's still good memories. I got a chance to play, and the memories of at least getting a chance to play football. A lot of guys don't get that. And when it's done, when your career is done, you're done, and you don't get a second chance. And I learned that. I thought football was going to last forever. And unfortunately, at 23 years old, I was finished.
Yeah. Hey, talk a little about your football high school coach. What kind of player? What kind of coach was he?
Well, it's funny. The coach, the original coach of our high school, Al Arbius, was a legend. He was the guy that had me give me all the connections to how to write these letters to. And he passed away about 7 years ago. He gave me all the connections, the addresses back then to write these letters to these college coaches like Terry Donahue and USC. I mean, I have all these letters still at home, and some of them were funny because some of them just didn't care who I was. They were like, we don't care. Like, I got a letter from Florida State, Bobby Bowden. And I saw him years later. I met Bobby. I love Bobby Bowden. Back then, he just said, we don't recruit outside of Florida. Like, kind of like, we don't care how good you are, what you say you are. But I was crazy back then. I was determined. I played semi-pro football at 16 years old for a team called the Bay Knights because I wanted to get that experience. I didn't feel like I was getting enough at high school where I wanted to play at the level where I can get more attention. And so I did. And it was like I lied to say I was over 18 or whatever, and got that experience. I mean, the Bay Knights, we played the New York City Police Department, the fire department. We played some big guys. And that gave me a lot of that real experience. Because, when you go from high school to college, it's a whole big jump. As you know, you can dominate in high school and get to college, and you see how quick they move. And it's just at another level.
There you go.
My pro experience definitely prepared me for what was next. But no, the original high school football coach, he became a mentor. But the guy that I ended up playing for, I'll just say that he wasn't the kind of coach that I would have hoped for. And, I've seen a lot of good coaches over the years. I've been blessed through the NFL alumni channels to be around guys like Coach Ditka, Marv Levy, some of the real good greats in the game. And you just hear about what great coaches they were. I was around Shane Beamer a few weeks ago at this college football dinner, the Bronco Nagurski Awards, and his dad, Frank. Those are the guys that I wish I had that kind of coach in high school. I can't say I did, but I can appreciate now good coaching versus bad coaching. And also, let's talk about, I was going to get to the CT thing, but also bad coaching is how you teach your guys how to play. Now, I speared. Back in my day, how many hits you had on your helmet? I got that helmet. I should bring it out. I have it in my other room there. And I still have it marked up. And that was what it was like a badge of honor. How many times I could spear somebody and try to knock somebody out. And we were taught the wrong way how to play. And I could have been paralyzed, where I could have paralyzed somebody else. And that's how the sport was played back in the day, played dirty, that Jack Tatum style. And that's bad coaching, And I think the improvements we're making to the game now will obviously last a long time. Chris Nowinski and all the good work he's doing with the Concussion Legacy Institute Foundation is going to really change the game, make it safer.
That's right.
Yep. So talk about growing up in New York in the 80s. You were in high school. What was the songs you guys were listening to in the locker room before
we were Run DMC, man. That was our beat back in the day. I mean, and I got to see him years later at one of these charity events, and I knew that whole Rock Box tune, man. I got it. I'll send it to you later after the show. I'm not as good a rapper as he is, but that's the kind. We love that music. We were, like I said, it was one of my guys that I played football with. He's now a very prominent doctor in the Pittsburgh area, and he's been trying to put together like a documentary, and we're just trying to get some funding for it. But just to talk about all these great stories of all these guys that came together, played in the mid 80s, and we all had great success stories in different ways. And a couple of guys are lawyers, this high school football coach I told you about turned around Erasmus High School. Just so many cool stories. We even went to high school with Emmanuel Lewis Webster. Remember Lil Webster from that show? He went to high school with us. I mean, we could really tell a whole documentary so well with that high school. It was legendary. Woody Allen went to high school years before us, but it just had there's definitely a story to be told there. That's why I'm so connected to these guys, because that Brooklyn roots, it never goes away. So I may live in Raleigh, North Carolina, but I drive 8 hours, 9 hours in a heartbeat. anytime a guy has a birthday or a reunion, anytime for those guys.
All right.
Hey, did you get an opportunity to play in any AllStar games, like in football or football or baseball?
Well, you know what? They didn't have, like, back in the day. They had just awards. They didn't have a game like an All-Star. They didn't. I know down south they have those. They didn't have that back in the day. I wish they would have had. Baseball, the benefit I had with doing all this Yankee philanthropy work for Mrs. Steinbrenner was I got to play these tournaments against these like ex-major league guys and play in these amazing stadiums and do things that I never thought. And I got the videos, which is so cool because a lot of them are filmed. And now I look back at them now that my career is finally over. I'll never play again, I told you. But I got these memories that are so, I wish I had more of that on football. I really wish back in the day, like now everything is on phones, right? Camcorders. I see parents. We didn't do that. I mean, I wish. And I got that stuff. I said, I have scrapbooks that I haven't seen in 30 years that I want to find because I really feel it's important to relive and go back before you look. But wish I had more of that. I just, unfortunately, I probably didn't appreciate it until it was gone. And that's what my only regret. If I had one regret is that I didn't probably appreciate playing ball as much as I should have. So.
Talk about your recruiting process a little bit. All the teams that were looking at you in high school, why did you choose Albany?
Well, Albany fell in my lap because what happened was I went to Boston University. I chose that because, first of all, academics. Also, look, I wanted to go to UCLA, USC. That was my dream, but I wasn't emotionally ready to go to 3,000 miles away. Hadn't been away from home, so you know what? It came right back home. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise. I mean, I'm grateful for those letters, and I hang them on my wall from Terry Donahue and all that stuff. It was nice. I mean, that was right when Troy Aikman was playing there. It would have been an amazing opportunity, but I don't think I was emotionally ready, had the maturity for that. So Boston being 3 hours was a nice kind of in between. Great academic school as well, School of Business. I got accepted to. So, you know, I got into University of Arizona, but again, too far. You want to be somewhere where you had a little bit of a cushion. Fortunately, that didn't work out. So then, you know, when I go home for a semester and now I'm just playing baseball in a city university school, which was boring to me. I wanted to be away from home. Thank God the connection with Albany fell into my lap for my high school football ex-coach, and it worked out great. So I have no regrets about the road I took. Everybody takes a different road to get there, but I'm about being an opportunist a little bit too because I took advantage of opportunities. If I hadn't graduated late, that Firebirds thing would have never happened. So I only had 3 weeks, but I had 3 weeks more than anybody else had. So same thing with the Bucks. When I got to the Bucks in '95, like a week and a half or whatever it was, I got the opportunity. I can't say I didn't get the opportunity. And I try to take advantage of any opportunity I ever got. And that's what I always tell people, take advantage of that. They don't come around often, those opportunities. You don't grab them, you lose them.
Yeah, that's right, man. That's right.
So you get to Albany. Who was the first player or teammate or student that embraced you on campus? Or
you know, we had, yeah. I mean, Albany, when I came in, it was intimidating because, you know, you came in as obviously I wasn't there as a freshman. You're coming in as an incoming sophomore. And one of the guys, Tom Courtney, he had been there. He was there starting linebacker. And there's always that guy who mentors you. I had that in high school. I had a guy 2 years older than me that took me under his wing. That's all you need. You need to have somebody who's going to mentor you and show you the ropes and not just coach and just kind of be with you outside of the football field too, to tell you where to go on camp because it was a big school, intimidating, you know. And that's the stuff that I had a friend of mine went to high school with to play football with me. He went up to Albany, and again, it overwhelmed him. He was a great player, great running back, and he should have had a great career. I think the scenery just wiped him out. He was just, by the time camp was done, he went back home. He just couldn't handle it. So again, maturity is a big thing. If you don't have the mentors around, it took me, I didn't really grow into my own until my junior year. That's when I kind of felt comfortable and knew my way around. But that first year was like a freshman year to me because I missed that time, that initial first year. So we all need mentors in life. And I would say giving back, I always try to be that for other people too. Even now in business and firm I work for, I try to always help that person who's below me. You know, it's like same thing in sports. You got to reach out and be that helping hand. And you see, like in the locker room, you see guys who are like that and the guys who are not. And we see that more probably in today's game now, where there's more, unfortunately, guys who are not those good people that are helping the young guys where they should be.
Yeah. Hey, did you redshirt your first year, or you played right away?
I got to play right away. Fortunately, it was always injuries. So injuries always the way to get when that's how you get that opportunity. And I always think that's the way you got it when you get the chance to get in and play and do something, show something. That's how I've always found my opportunities landed in my lap, and it was great because I had the chance to play. And the reality was at Boston University, I was 4 deep. I was going to be probably never play. I mean, I was undersized. Like I said, I was never going to bulk. I bulked myself up to 230, 235. By the time camp was done, I was like 226, soaking wet. I just couldn't keep the weight on. And for a defensive tackle, and it was tough. And then, like I said, the injuries were an unfortunate part of it too. When I learned about once, hey, an ACL meniscus tear, I was kind of in my own reality thinking, oh, I'll get back. I'll be able to do. No, you can't. The doctors back then, I always laugh because I got to be good friends with Thomas Davis from the Carolina Panthers. TD had 3 of those ACL tears, but I had 2, and they just I'm lucky I don't have any replacement surgery. I had to do that yoga stuff a couple of years ago with Diamond Dallas Page to help my knee because you get all that scar tissue. My knee was so. Right now I'm 50 years old. I feel great physically. I don't think I'm going to need knee replacement because I've been doing workout regimen and yoga and all this other stuff, but. Tell you what, injuries can take its toll. So I'm probably the most banged up guy. I had broke my wrist. I mean, I've had the shoulder. I've had every injury. But the fact that I'm still able to do what I'm doing at 50 years old is a result of just hanging in there and just doing whatever I can to try to be healthy.
That's good.
All right. Did you guys play any bowl games at Albany? Any playoffs?
No, we were D3. So we missed out. Like I was jealous when I said the Giants came in 2 years later after we graduated. And it was a funny story. Years later, Jim Fassel was the coach up there, and I went back to visit because I had my family up there, and I parked in a spot, and I didn't know it said JF, whatever. I don't know. It was his spot, and it was our first meeting. He wasn't very happy with me, Coach Fassel, because I went up there and I was parked in his personal spot up in Albany campus. But years later, we became really close friends. Coach Fassel passed away last year, and he was such a good man. We always tell that story all the time. I'm like, man, you hated me, Coach Fassel, because I parked in your spot. He remembered that. He goes, "That was you." I said, "That was me." But he was a good guy, But no, I had some great memories. Because I do wish timing would have worked out where we would have been because the Giants being there really turned around. When I saw the program and they've had some good success over the years, I missed out on a lot of that. But I was grateful to play when I did, and I don't regret any of the players or teammates I had. So it's all good.
Yeah. They talk about the competition in your conference.
Oh, I mean, we had Cortland. The best, funniest story was Wayne Corbett. You know him, New York Jets. He played for Hofstra. And Joe Gardy was the coach for Hofstra at the time. They were Joe Gardy was a defensive coordinator for the Jets during the Walt Michaels era. So Joe Gardy was a pro coach, coaching Hofstra, and they had this quarterback. I believe his name was Rory Moss. I'm going to remember his name. It'll come back to me. But this cat, I mean, he threw like 300 yards a game at D3, which was never happened at that time. Where every play, I mean, you talk about you playing in a conference where Union College, Ithaca, where it's just run. This guy's throwing. So they beat us in 1990. God, it was 65-7. This first game I played, and it was like 28-0 first quarter. It was the most demoralizing game you could ever imagine. But Wayne Corbett, when I seen Wayne years later and tease him, and Wayne's a couple years younger than me, and Wayne's a great story too. Here's a guy that took a path to D3. He's one of the first guys, and he got that opportunity in training camp at Hempstead. And his story is amazing. Kurt Warner, who I got to be very close with him and his wife. There's a great movie I want to plug it called The American Underdog. Kurt's my guy, the arena football story. And here's a guy that made it. I mean, when I see Kurt and Brenda, I mean, that's faith. And he just he had ball bounced in the right. He had the talent, but look at his career. He didn't start much in college, and look at the bumps he took in the path. And those stories are remarkable. So.
So
You always see
after
the
you
guys
left
with the most
Auburn,
talent that got like that were dynamic. You hear about the guys that the Deion Sanders of the world who just you knew from the time they were playing that they were going to be. When you see the guys that the Kurt Warners, the perseverance, determination to say, hey, I'm going to play this game. And whatever bumps, and right, he was like 26, 27 years old before he really got that opportunity. The Tom Brady story too. But I mean, I think Kurt exemplifies perseverance and taking a road less traveled, and he got there. And I think even after years later, he came back to the Cardinals. Remember, he was done by the time the Rams got to the Giants and things weren't that good. And then he gets that opportunity with the Cardinals, and you see what he did the last couple of years. So I like those stories. I'm a comeback guy. I'm a Rocky guy. So like that's my underdog story.
So talk about the Arena League a little bit. You went there and played after you left University of Albany.
Yeah, that was like I said, it was dumb luck where they were practicing. Rick Buffington was the coach. I don't know if he's still around. I don't keep in contact. I mean, Arena Football, that team, that franchise is obviously done. But it was remarkable. Like I said, when I was graduating that summer, I had a sociology degree, minor in business, but I didn't know what I wanted to do, honestly. So it gave me an opportunity that I would never otherwise have had. And I didn't know much about arena football. It was a different sport, as you know, from playing, pro. So those practices were just the fact of being on the field. But I think the adrenaline from being there with guys that were Sylvester Bumbery was one guy I remember very well. And he was a beast. And we had some good players in that team. So Chris Drennan was the guy who connected me. Chris Drennan was a kicker for Nebraska. He kicked like a game-winning field goal. You have to look it up. I think probably in like the late 80s. I don't remember what year it was. And he was a kicker. And he's the one that said, man, we could use somebody come in, talk to the coach. And Chris was the guy that got me that first opportunity there. And again, 3 weeks later, it's like July 21st. I always remember these dates. Sometimes I can't remember what I did yesterday. I can remember the date I got my ACL tear. It's like July 21st of 1993. And, there was only 2 more games left in the season, and I was hoping to get a chance to play. And, of course, that ACL meniscus tear, bam, ended up in Albany Medical Center. And that was like the end of I wouldn't say the end of the dream, because I kept trying to come back. I mean, a year later, I took up boxing. Like I said, the boxing saga didn't go very well, 1-3. But the shape it got me in was really good. I'll tell you what, I trained in Troy, New York, this Uncle Sam's Boxing Club. And I'll tell you, the training that boxing put me through definitely accelerated my rehab. So I can definitely give it credit for that. But it was a bummer, and even after the Buccaneers, I tried professional wrestling. You guys will laugh. I mean, hey, I was down in Tampa with all these big wrestling guys. There was a guy named Terry Taylor. He was this guy called the Red Rooster in the WWF back in the day. And he's like, you should be a football player. We got this guy, Bill Goldberg, who's down at the power plant in Atlanta. And Bill Goldberg was a Falcons guy then. And he was doing pretty well down there. So they bring me down to Atlanta. And I'm like, what the heck? I always wanted to be the bad guy, the Roddy Piper, and go down to 4 days of taking these bumps, back bumps, you name it. And it was one of the most grueling. I'll tell you what, wrestling ain't fake, because and they did some crazy stuff for guys who were brand new. But there was a guy named Paul Ondorf. He was a Tampa guy, Paul. He was Mr. Wonderful Paul Ondorf, wrestling god in the WWF back in the day. I went to Paul on day 4. I'm like, I never quit on anything. So I'm done, because I had my legs were done. My back was killing me. I took a bump, landed the wrong way. They're supposed to tuck your head when you take a slam. Now, I don't know. You guys know what tucking your head means? I'm not a gymnastics guy, so I guess I didn't tuck my head. So I took this bump, and my vertebrae like shattered. So, but those bumps, I know we want to get into the topic of concussions, but I had a number of those, and one of them I had during that wrestling training pretty bad. I had some of them during football, and we didn't know what CTE was back in the day, and now we know very well. We saw what happened last Sunday.
Antonio Brown.
Yeah, and you look at that. I can't speculate. I mean, with CTEs, they're doing a lot more work around it to see, but there's definitely some problems there from traumatic head injuries, and he definitely had a number of them. I'm not going to say that can explain what happened last Sunday, I wasn't there. I know two sides of the story. There's the Bruce Arians, there's AB, and there's the real story. So we'll never know what really went on. But do think that people have to be more patient, and also look at guys like that and kind of have more sympathy, empathy for what they're going through, because there's a lot that goes on in the field that fans, we laugh, and all these memes I've seen in the last 4 days, we all laugh, but it's not something to laugh about when you got a guy's health at risk, So I pray for him. And I know a friend of mine, Brett Raymer, did a show with Antonio Brown. He's a good guy. It was called Tanked on Animal Planet years ago. And, Brett, AB was a great guy, man. So that's when he was on the Steelers, did the show. And, I just look at the human side of it and say that hopefully whatever he's going through, he'll get the help, the resources. I think what Tom Brady said was great. He's got to support your teammates. He may not be the right fit for the Bucs this year, but don't blast the guy. But let's just pray he gets help. And when I look at all the guys over the years that have had problems, even now, I won't even just bring up CT, but I'm friends with a guy named Steve Mongo McMichael, former Chicago Bears legend, he's got ALS. Now, no kidding, you don't think ALS and Steve Gleason, Mongo McMichael, these are all the result of our football injuries. I mean, guys are getting ALS now on a frequent basis. Steve Smith, and it's happening all too often. And so Coach Ditka had created, and I've been privileged to work with Gridiron Greats Assistance Fund, Shannon McGrath Jordan, Karen Wright, but Coach Ditka put this together 10, 15 years ago and is helping give players assistance with issues like CTE, traumatic head injuries, and other things. And it's just a lot more has to be done, but that's Coach Ditka's greatest achievement in the game of football. Forget the Super Bowl year, 1985 for the Bears, but what he's done to help former players, man, that guy is on the Mount Rushmore of coaches and human beings, in my opinion.
Good stuff.
Great. So, what is Mike Dempsey up to now? He's boxing. He's getting ready to train. He's doing everything. Social media. You have your own podcast. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I did that during the pandemic. It's a lot of work. You guys know, man, doing these podcasts, it's a lot of work. I was blessed to have my daughters. My older daughter, Kelly, has Asperger's, so I wanted to give her a platform to go on a show, and we'd have kind of like you guys do. I'd have Johnny Damon, who's one of my best friends, on a lot. Irish Mickey Ward, a lot of cool. But also feature stories of kids like that have Down syndrome that are getting jobs and doing things and helping. I want to show those stories and highlight and show the resilience and those perseverance and inspirational kids. So I would you hate to say it, I use the celebrities as a way, as clickbait to get you to watch my show. So I could highlight those inspirational stories of Gabby's Grounds, who's got her own coffee shop. She's got Down syndrome. Those are stories I really wanted to highlight and show my daughter that she can do anything she wants to do. She goes to college now. She's doing great. She's 19. She's doing great academically, socially, but it's with the support system and giving her the confidence and the tools and the podcast. Right. We did it right from here. It was really cool. Every Sunday night live, it was always like worrying about the StreamYard link is going to work or not. I mean, we had a freak out every Sunday night, but it was a lot of great stuff, a lot of great memories. I got all the podcast on my website and their treasured memories. I might do it again at some point, but man, it was a lot of work. It looked easy the first show. And then I'm like, oh my God, I gotta follow, do this and plug a sponsor. And I'm like, oh man. So I give you guys credit. You guys have a great show. I've watched a number of the episodes, and it's just keeping it real and helping others and showing, look, it's an old guy like me. You got a lot of younger guys on the show, these college kids, and it'd be great to see them in 30 years and see that they're still out there and helping and doing. Right, I like to tell people my story to say, hey, I had a lot of bumps along the way, a lot of bruises, and I'll get bruised up on fight night. I can promise you that, but I'm going to last that 3 rounds in the ring and survive and tell that story. And that's what it's all about, is being around to tell the story to the next generation.
Yeah. Hey, any message for the youth that might want to follow your path?
Yeah, I'm mentoring a kid right now. He was my neighbor's son, and I brought him down he wants to go play for UNCC for Coach Healy, and he wants to walk on next season, and I told him he's a skinny kid, went to Ravenscroft High School, had a good career here, but it's a big bump up to D1. I'm telling him, but I brought him to that Bronco Nagurski Award dinner. He went up to Coach Healy. They exchanged phone numbers. I was proud of him. He actually asked for Coach's number, got it, and texted him, and he's making it happen. He'll get the opportunity. I can't say he's going to make the team, but I wanted to have that opportunity and make it happen. And that's what it's all about, is making sure you do everything to get yourself in a position to get those opportunities, because you realize later in life that they only happen a few times, and you got to grab them while you can. So he's going to have that opportunity, but I wanted him to get out there and forget being shy. Just go up there and say, "Yo, Coach, what's your number?" And that's a great thing to do. I wrote a letter to Terry Donahue, man, back in UCLA. I still had that letter framed, and he wrote me back. It was like we were pen pals. It was so weird to get letters from like legendary college football coaches back then, but they were real people. And they saw the interest, the overachiever in me that had the balls to do that. And that's what I think attracted them. And that's what you got to be. You got to be a step above the others to show, because there's so many talented players out there now with the analysis and all this. It's amazing statistical analysis and every kid coming out of high school, that you got to be a little bit different to get noticed. So,
yep. All right. Any shout outs to any fans, friends, former teammates, coaches?
Yeah, one guy I want to shout out is my college football teammate, George Lanise. He founded a group in New York City called About You NYC. And what he does is he helps, and I want to have a couple of his guys on your show. One of them goes to Purdue, Sadusi Kane, and his brother. I think he's going to Purdue as well. The great story is they grew up in New York City, underprivileged, and got full scholarships. It's an amazing story, but he's done it with a lot of kids and giving them the tools to help out in their SATs and giving them assistance, mentorship, getting them kind of what I had in high school, having that person who told me what direction to go to get to the next level. And George is doing a great job. I took it on about 2 or 3 years ago. It's a nonprofit, About You NYC, and it's an amazing story. And seeing these kids that are going on to college bowl games. He was just down in Tennessee for that bowl game last week at Purdue. It's an amazing story seeing these kids move on and become adults and human beings out there and going to life. Football doesn't last forever, but these kids are learning the struggles and how to overcome that, and giving them the tools is really 90% of it.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on the show, Mike. It was good stuff. Yeah. I would love to have you back on. We talk about another subject.
Super Bowl week. Let's do it. I'll be out there, LA. Hey, Radio Row, Super Bowl week. I'll be out there. Glad to help and get some other guys out there, because we all have things we're promoting and out there. There's some good stories that I'd love to get you guys to, because I think we're going to be doing a lot of these remote podcast kind of things as well because of the COVID. So definitely love to do a live spot for you guys and get some guys. I'll get some special surprises on there. I won't ruin the surprise. I'll get some guys on there that'll surprise, and we'll have a lot of fun, man. So I'm looking forward to LA. I'm a Brooklyn guy, but Hollywood, I love Hollywood.
All right.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Hey, no problem, man. We appreciate you coming on. For everybody that's been watching, please subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Spotify, and Deezer. And don't forget to cop the merch. You just tuned in to another edition of the Sports Shop 27. I'm your host, Jermaine Coulter. To my far right, my co-host, Kevin Johnson, KJ. And we'd like to thank today's special guest, former University of Albany linebacker and now boxer, Mike Dempsey. All right.
Well, my website's themikedempsey.com as well. Check it out. And got a lot of great content down there. Some of my old podcasts and some other great, cool things, philanthropy. And if you want to check it out, I love to show some of the things I'm doing to help others. That's what it's all about.
That's right, man.
All right. Next time you come on the show, we'll drop that link down at the bottom right there, okay?
Sounds good.
We have everything set up for you. All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure you stay safe. Wear your mask. And it's not how you start, it's how you what?
You already know how you finish.
All right. We'll see you soon. Peace.
Thanks. Peace.